Hey everyone, I'm Rich Dotson of DynastyNerds.com, and I'm here because I must ask you a question. Do you want to know some of my top stashes in Dynasty Fantasy Football for this month? Well, I'm sure you're not here for the spectacular mustache. And you're probably looking to hear about my 3 great Dynasty prospects that will be great stashes and could be contributors to your championship run in the 2021 season or beyond. Stashes are cheap, affordable, and they leave you with very little investment. So if they don't pan out, you just cut bait and flush those turds down the toilet. So let's take a look at 3 guys that you can add to your secret stash. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, and notifications button to keep up with all our off-season content to get you ready to dominate the 2021 Dynasty Fantasy Football season. First up is Quintus Cephas, a 22-year-old 5th-round pick out of Wisconsin, who saw 32 targets as a rookie, caught 20 of those for 349 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he saw about 34% of the team's offensive snaps, and he even got 2 starts. Now enter Jared Goff, the new quarterback for the Lions who they traded for, and he knows his receivers just as well as you probably do. I mean, the only receivers under contract for the Lions next year are Quintus Cephas, Geronimo Allison, who opted out due to the Rona, and then Victor Bolden Jr. and Tom Kennedy. Who are those last two guys? I have no idea. And there's no reason you need to know them either because they're probably not going to be fantasy relevant and they're not going to help you out. Go ahead and flush those turds down the toilet. Now, they have 5 receivers who are unrestricted free agents, with Kenny Galladay being the cream of the crop. And there's still time for them to bring him back or even franchise him. Regardless, they vacated 171 receptions, 2,185 receiving yards, and 12 touchdowns. That just skipped town, and somebody needs to catch those. And listen, I love TJ Hockenson as much as the next guy, but not even his mom and his dad think he can put up those kind of numbers. Somebody's got to come in and fill the void. Now, Cephas, like I said, who came out of Wisconsin, stands at 6'1", and he's 210 pounds. And if you remember, he ran the slowest 40 time amongst wide receivers at the Combine last year with a 4.73, which for a wide receiver might as well be a sloth with a pair of Nikes on. It's not going to cut it, okay? Now, he did, however, run a 4.56 at his pro day. We all know the pro day 40s are a little bit faster, but Cephas showed us that he does have some speed. Where Cephas was the slowest wideout at the Combine, he was also the strongest, putting up 23 reps on the bench press, which is also like a sloth, but on steroids. So, he's a big, strong, physical receiver that has very good hands, actually. You'll very seldomly see Cephas drop something. And he gets in and out of his breaks really, really well. And his play kind of reminds me of a ceiling of an Anquan Bolden. That's where it can be. And we all remember Anquan Bolden was a very, very nice dynasty asset for your team for years. So, Quintus Cephas comes in, and we saw that he got better as the year went on. Like most rookies who had to deal with last year, the coronavirus and COVID, they didn't have time like a regular rookie come in here and, adequate and acclimate to his team. So it explains the slow start that he had. Now, he did get better as the year progressed, especially with his route running. And he finished the year very strong, with 2 touchdowns coming in the last third of the season. He had that one deep one in week 13 versus Minnesota, and then the last week 17, he had a good touchdown as well. Now, Goff will be a bonus for Hockenson, who's currently my number 2 overall dynasty tight end. And as things stands right now, Cephas is your best bet for fantasy production in 2021. At the position in wide receiver, they just don't have many other options. And they could eventually regret Galladay or sign one of the many talented free agent wide receivers out there. But as it stands right now, Quintus Cephas looks to benefit the most. Goff likes to keep things short and sweet. That's what he did with the Rams. And that can be very beneficial for the strong-handed Quintus Cephas, who plays, again, very physical, can get over the middle. I like Quintus Cephas for a great stash. Now, from Stafford's old home to his new, the LA Rams. And I love me some Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson is a great dynasty stash right now. Jefferson looked fantastic during the preseason season last year. We can remember Jefferson in the preseason early in the year. He got some buzz picked up about him, then kind of settled down. In the 2020 second round pick, who is 6'1", 200 pounds, saw 31 targets as a rookie, caught 19 of those passes for 220 yards and a touchdown. Jefferson was one of the top 3 route runners in this class. Arguably, you could say he was number 2 behind Jerry Jeudy last year coming out of the draft. Very solid. He gets off the line very, very well. He's a savvy route runner, and he's one of those kind of route runners who's smart, right? He's extremely smart. And you can see this on tape. You know, the way his technique is and the way he can set up and freeze those defensive backs, how precise he is getting in and out of his breaks. So he's also had some great tutelage of this as well, because if you didn't know, Van Jefferson's dad was a former wide receiver himself. A matter of fact, he coaches wide receivers. Last year, he was the wide receivers coach for the New York Jets. So he comes from good genes, right? He's a very solid player. Now, he's 24 years old, and he's not going to dominate the stat lines in 2021. So patience is a virtue here. And the patience is a virtue that a lot of Dynasty players just don't have. This is a guy who can play dividends for you, maybe not in 2021 unless there's an injury, but from 2022 on. Again, patience it's just a trait that many Dynasty players have a hard time with, but, you know, it could pay off in the long run. The Rams are a team that's up against it when it comes to the salary cap, and they're going to be faced with some really tough decisions coming here soon. And I know they signed two of their very talented receivers to good contracts not too long ago. Cooper Kupp last year, Woods right before that. And I love both those guys. They're great fantasy receivers. They're great Dynasty assets. But players who both are due a decent amount of money, and they signed those long-term contracts. Cooper Kupp came in, signed his extension for 3 years, $47.25 million, with $35.1 guaranteed. And the Rams don't have an out on Kupp really until the 2023 season with a $1.5 million dead cap hit. So that's at least 2 years for him. Now, Woods, who signed a 4-year deal, $65 million extension with $32 million guaranteed. On the other hand, the team actually has an out for Woods in 2022. And his only casualty is going to be a $600,000 dead cap hit that drops every year by $200,000. Now, a team that's in serious cap trouble is going to look to make moves, and Woods seems like the most logical choice, especially when you have a talented second-round pick who will be entering his third year in the NFL. And we all know the third year in the NFL is that typical breakout year. This could be a very easy decision for the Rams when it comes time to make those hard decisions by cutting Woods loose and letting Van Jefferson shine. Van Jefferson can be in line to become a very solid wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. Now, again, this isn't somebody that can come in and just be a wide receiver 1, but he has wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside, and that's a great stash. Next up, last but not least, my guy, Kelvin Harmon of the Washington football team. Kelvin Harmon stands at 6'2", 215 pounds. And he's a receiver that has absolutely fantastic hands. He's a hands catcher who's strong, and he plays physical. Harmon has a fantastic sideline control player. He is a fantastic sideline control player. He's got great body control. He can track the ball well. He can adjust the ball very nicely. And he showed that he could dominate the sidelines. He did that in college. And he looked really good doing the NFL in his limited time during his rookie year. Now, if you remember, Harmon worked his way onto the field, and he consistently showed us in the second half of that season that he could play on this level. In 2019, he's somebody that came in, first half of the season, little start, but after week 9 on, this is a player that saw at least 2 targets in every single game, and 2 was his lowest starting in week 9. He ended his rookie campaign, with 44 targets, 30 receptions, and 365 yards. And he was poised to be the number 2 receiver opposite of Terry McLaurin coming into the 2020 season. Now, then he went out in June of 2020 and tore his ACL, missing the entire season. Now, the Washington football team has the 5th most cap space according to Spot Rack right now. And they're very likely to bring in a wide receiver in free agency amongst another very solid class of receivers. And they also have a very talented rookie who's going to be a second-year player in Antonio Gandy Golden, who could be a viable option too. So he's got guys, Antonio Gandy Golden, the free agent they're going to bring in, and we don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. But look for Harmon to at least get a chance to crack the starting lineup. And he's most likely to make this roster as well for 2021. And he's practically free right now. I mean, Harmon's one of the best stashes you're going to find. He's absolutely, positively, possibly free. And passing up Harmon, we'd be like telling that Asian place at your mall that you don't want that piece of delicious chicken and to give you on a toothpick. Why would you do that to your stomach? It's like the same thing with Kelvin Harmon, not adding him to your Dynasty roster. Why would you do that to your Dynasty roster? Treat yourself to the sweet deliciousness I want to call Kelvin Harmon, who could practically be on your waiver wire right now. Don't do that. Grab a toothpick. Put in Kelvin Harmon off the wire. Get him on your roster. This is a great addition for any Dynasty team. And those are my top 3 stashes for this month in Dynasty Fantasy Football. I don't expect any of these guys to cost you much. Quintus Cephas is likely going to be the most expensive guy, but you could probably get him for a 2021 third. Van Jefferson's might cost you a 21 third, but probably a good package player, maybe even a 4th in this strong rookie class this year you can get him for. And like I said, Kelvin Harmon is practically free. Make sure you grab him. Make sure you get all these guys on your roster. And again, great upside. Great upside in Dynasty. Don't forget, we have way more Dynasty content coming to you this entire offseason to make sure you enter the 2021 season ready to dominate and chase that ship. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, and notifications button for all the Dynasty Nerds Dynasty content this offseason.